Thanks, Stephen,
Yeah.
for it. So what I wanted to talk with you about was the Paycheck Protection Program. And I know you've been really open about the struggles that have been happening on 23rd Street and how those relate to the rest of our community. And Tower, for us at Citizens, really educated us more on the Paycheck Protection Program. We were looking into the mechanics of how it was being built, where you guys are really looking at it from how to use it as a small business, and it really helped us elevate our game as we went to work with you. Can you just talk about the program maybe from your perspective?
Yeah. For me, the Paycheck Protection Program was the sort of answer to if our business revenues are hurting or we were limited by what was going on in the world, which for us being an entertainment venue, gathering space, and a bar, which is also essentially a gathering space. I mean, as soon as those restrictions started to come down, even in the very top level, when they were starting to restrict across the country to like 500 people, like immediately that was impacting us. And so if our business was interrupted, you know, we have a bunch of employees and a bunch of people and some core operations that needed to persist and they needed to continue. We either needed to help our employees survive this or also like just be able to like deal with the minimal expenses that we were going to incur. We worked with banks like yourself and to help defer loan payments or to reduce things like that. The utility services stopped doing cutoffs and things like that. So everybody kind of started to give you a little bit of breathing room, but there was still some stuff that was going on that needed to be paid out, and primarily the employees. And to me, so that was the Paycheck Protection Program. And I heard to this day, I'm still hearing a lot of confusion between that and things like the EIDL, which is the disaster loan. And I kind of, in my head, I sort of segregated those two things to being like something like the EIDL is a bigger picture. How does my business and my company survive this itself? And how do I continue these longer term debt services and other things? The Paycheck Protection Program was more like literally what those words are, protecting people's paychecks. Like that was money that was designed to keep our staff on some level active. The federal government and even the city has done some stuff themselves, but like increasing the stimulus checks, increasing unemployment checks, those are also helping pieces. And so we have a lot of employees that are kind of using multiple pieces of this. They filed for unemployment early because we shut down a little earlier than everybody else. One, because our business is so nationwide and worldwide that like we were getting shows and events canceled when New York started getting hit harder. That started impacting us. When the UK got shut down, we actually had a band in the UK that was set to be in our building like 2 weeks later. So we started to kind of feel the front wave of the swell a little bit. And so we started shutting down earlier and our employees got to unemployment faster and things like that, which helped. But this just kind of helped piece it together so that a few of them are even close to whole, as they would say. Like, so for us, it was really about that. It was about how can we get money in to keep this core group of people? Because on the flip side, we're also thinking about the future of our businesses. We're looking at a calendar, then the reports are coming out that the concert world isn't going to really resume its full tilt until 2021 at this point. And we didn't know what the future was like, and that changes every day. So but we're also thinking about, we have events coming up, we have things coming up, so we have to keep the marketing engine running a little bit. We have to keep the events engine running a little bit. We have to keep, we want to keep our bar staff and our hospitality staff, we want to keep them loyal to us. So as much as I'm like, go do whatever right now to take care of yourself, even if that means finding a job, going to work at a grocery store or Amazon or something like that, we want you back. And so if there's a piece of this that we can help them survive this time that sort of, keeps our family together, as it were, that's kind of how we looked at this. And that's why it was so important for us to get it filed and figure it out as fast as possible too, so we could pass that information on.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of getting ready for it and how long it took and how complex it was?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, from my perspective, it was probably easy-ish. There was a lot of confusion up front about what the process was going to be and where would you apply, and is the bank handling it, or is it going straight to the SBA, or all those sorts of early questions. And that's where we really relied on you all. You were very much out in the forefront communicating with the SBA. We had some other relationships like the Matisse Group and some other people who were talking to the local SBA offices. And from my perspective too, I kind of have to give our local SBA office a little bit of credit because, we submitted the first version of the EIDL almost immediately, which was a really weird form, which makes sense if like my house got knocked down by, or my business got knocked down by a tornado, it kind of made sense because it was asking about geographic location and damages. This one didn't. But even right then, we started getting phone calls from local SBA just saying, hey, we saw you apply for this. We had some more questions. We're changing the process. So really for us, it was just kind of like, who can we monitor for the right information? And you directly became a big source of that, especially on Twitter. And then the process from there, I mean, really, it was kind of we were already starting to work on like end of year financials and stuff like that for tax prep and for some of the, loan information we provide to you all every year. So a lot of that information seemed to be what was being asked for. So really it was just kind of like pressure on the accountants to say, hey, that thing you were already working on, that P&L from last year, we need that faster. Hey, oh wait, we need these 2 specific payroll reports. Great. We logged in our payroll portal. We downloaded the reports. It was, it was mostly just about getting that data set together, but I would say probably 80% of it was just kind of standard information. So we have a really great internal accountant. We have a really great like kind of CFO for hire. We work with a great accounting firm. So we, luckily as a small business, kind of had some resources there where it was just like, hey, Alex, I need A, B, C, D. Cool. Hey, accounting firm, we need X, Y, Z. Cool. Send it all into this email address or whatever, and go from there. So I kind of get to operate on both fronts I have that infrastructure there, but I also have my own little personal businesses that I run that I'm not that good of a bookkeeper on, honestly, and I'm not that prepared. And like, I also felt that pain of like, I didn't have those documents ready for myself. Like, and I still kind of don't, especially since the first round of this has run out and they kind of turned on the independent contractor piece later. And I kind of, that mentality of like, well, I kind of got some support through Tower, and that's where my primary paycheck comes from anyways. So my little independent contractor work really wasn't impacting my livelihood. So I kind of didn't feel too much pressure on myself to do that because kind of that mentality I've heard other people have is like, well, if I got some help over here, I don't want to like double dip on it and take that away. Even if it was $1,000, I know other independent contractors, especially in our city and state, that I'd much rather that money be there for them than, to get a little bit more on my end. So I've kind of experienced it from both sort of super, super small, self-employed independent contractor to like small business, less than 50 people. What does that look like? Luckily, our business is so weird and volatile financially that a year or two, we hired this amazing internal controller, and she has saved our business like hand over fist many, many times. And this is just another example of like having that resource. So if I've learned any lesson that I would pass on anybody through all this, it's like having a good bookkeeper accountant is so important. As well as, it's interesting, it answered some questions for us with bartenders and people that work a lot on tips and other things. Like, we've struggled for a while with all the tips. Should we not report all the tips? Some people do it, cash goes in the pocket and it's up to them to report it. Some people process all of it. And ironically, about a month before this, we had kind of decided to shift with a new point of sale and a new payroll system that we're going to use to start reporting everything. And suddenly I realized the other reasons why that's very important, because I can't claim those tips on the PPP because we didn't report them. Like, so those cash tips were not eligible to be considered. Whereas had we been reporting, we could have, and that would have just given us more resources to help everyone.
So are you planning to apply, do you think, with your smaller businesses in the next round of PPP?
I probably will, simply from the standpoint of I don't personally know how long this is actually going to go on, and I'm pretty fearful of the current trend of some of the population thinking that we can kind of open and get back to normal. I think that maybe we could be wise about releasing some restrictions to allow some of the things to happen, like elective surgeries. Not to get too much into this, but like elective surgeries at hospitals, I get that there's some, keeping those hospitals are essentially businesses in this country. So like keeping those going is very important, especially if this gets worse. We don't need hospitals shutting their doors right before, the peak hits. So there's some things like that, but I worry about a second wave of this. So not knowing the future and how it's going to play out, part of me is saying, get whatever I can get while I can get it. And, you know, especially in my family, we're growing a little bit this week. So having that extra money, even if it's, you know, sitting in a checking account and just we're just holding on to it just because I don't know. So I probably will apply for the next round should it come.
Yes, hopefully so. Um, so if you wouldn't mind sharing, how many team members were you able to keep on or bring back on because of PPP?
So we have, that's a good question. The number is, I think there's about 10 right now that we have on some sort of minimized payroll. We're actually, for the reasons I stated before, we've been advised to essentially try to draw this out as long as we can.
Mhm.
It's such a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things with low interest rate. We're not so targeted on the forgiveness piece of it. We're okay with taking it as debt. If it means we draw it out for 4 or 6 months. And that's another part of the program I think was lacking. And I've seen some articles about this, especially for the service industry and restaurant industry, is we're not going to, I mean, like I said, concerts right now, the industry is saying 2021 is the earliest you can expect anything close to normal. So obviously the 2.5 months or the 8 weeks that we were given to pay that out is not a realistic time frame for us anyway. We're not bringing people back to work. And sure, I could probably just be writing checks for 2 weeks of vacation pay or whatever and qualify for it. But it's been interesting to like talk to our staff because, like I said, we were just a little bit ahead of the wave. They all kind of got themselves situated and hunkered down and got their situations figured out. So they're even pushing, like when we got the first round of loans, started doing some math. We're like, here's one scenario. We could bring 18 people back on and pay them all 75% of their salaries and and we burn through it in 8 weeks and it'll be forgiven and great. But they were all kind of like, yeah, but then what? And it's like, so like for us we're giving ourselves a little bit of runway with it.
So you're really using it as like more the 1% loan with that you could use the liquidity then to bring staff back if
Yeah.
it's needed in a few weeks from now or a month from now.
Yeah.
On the forgiveness component.
So we've kept, like I said, some core staff. We've kept a couple of our marketing people. Our social media channels are up. We are obviously answering emails and phone calls, and our online merch store has actually been more active in the last 2 months than it has been in 2 years, honestly. So we're still shipping things out. And so that was the thing, like, we want to stay relevant to people. We don't want Tower to just disappear off your mind. So, we're updating the marquee still with relevant information. We're posting things. We are announcing some shows way far in the future. We started doing virtual cinema screenings in partnership with some distributors. So we still have things we want to be talking about and messaging. So we're keeping, those people in our team that are helping all of that kind of move forward, because we don't want to just, turn the lights off, shut the doors, and you not hear about Tower for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, and then suddenly try to come back and re-enter everyone's mind. It's like, oh yeah, that place. We want to be there. We want people to remember it. We want people to miss it, because on the other side of this, I'm looking forward to the day where I kind of have a feeling that once everything is passed and people are confident and comfortable again, that we're going to have kind of a windfall of people desperate to get out of their houses and see each other again. And our places and spaces are exactly what that's for. We're there to have people come and gather and convene for whatever, whether it's a concert or a holiday party or just a happy hour cocktail at Ponyboy. So.
Can you talk a little bit about the process when you applied for the PPP and what the communication was like with your lender?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I feel like we have such a great relationship with you all to begin with, and we're communicating pretty regularly, even more so than I would with a traditional banking relationship, just because we collaborate on other stuff. So I kind of feel like, I know first names of a lot of people up there at the bank. So I did feel a little bit like maybe we were like leveraging our relationship a little bit, but pretty quickly, as I saw other people start, it was really interesting because we were concerned about early on you hear these fears that the money's going to run out and all that, and all the big banks are going to scoop it all up. And then pretty quickly it changes and you hear that like Chase isn't touching it. And then you hear that like, oh, the small banks are starting to step up. And we started communicating with you all pretty early. And you were figuring out your process and how to handle it and trying to figure out, in like getting those final rules from the SBA, like at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night when it's supposed to go live at like 7 a.m. on Friday. You're like, that's ridiculous in any sense. It's like, by the way, here's your final exam for your doctorate tomorrow, but I'm going to give you the questions the night before, or the study guide the night before. So it was very much a lot of hearsay, it felt like at first, but from my perspective, when you all got the information and it was clear, you began disseminating that really quickly. I mean, emails started coming out, and these weren't like personal emails again, like Matt saying, "Hey, Steven, here's that insider information." So this was like, no, blasting it out, and you were on social media saying it. So for us, the communication, it turned pretty quickly from like feeling nobody knows what was going on to, and I say this unbiasedly, honestly, that like it felt like you guys became the voice, at least locally, for what was happening. And then honestly, not even locally, because I watched Twitter and watched what happened as you started figuring stuff out, and all these other bankers from around the country were like, wait, and then all these people were like, wait, you're processing loans? Can we come to you? I probably referred like 6 people over to you guys at one point, because I was, and it was really funny because, we got, just candidly got some advice early on that maybe we should consider going to a slightly larger bank, like not necessarily a Chase, but like a mid, or another bank, let's just say. And then pretty quickly, like I started hearing people from that bank going, I haven't heard anything in 8 days, and I'm sitting here like, I just got my deposit. Like, you guys should go talk to them, go talk to Citizens. So I mean, I heard anecdotally from others that some locals were just silent, like it was like talking into a black hole. Whereas all of a sudden, like I'm getting emails daily on the updates. I'm getting, I'm watching your Twitter feeds. I'm watching, and I'm watching other people having gone to you come back and then tell the story of like, yeah, I was like banging on the door of my bank for 5 days, and then one email to Citizens, and all of a sudden my application's done, and I'm waiting. Like, so I think the communication process, you guys have been very open with it. You were taking, I mean, I think I texted you at some point or emailed you or something, just asked a question, and you like called me back, and I was like, why are you calling me? Like, I shouldn't be on that list of people, but that's always been your thing, like over communicate. Why? There's no secret here. The goal is to get this out to everybody. The goal is to, save these businesses, to get paychecks back in people's pockets. So why are we being coy about, like, and that was something I think early on too, like everybody kind of had to realize, this is impacting every level of everything. There's very few segments of the nation that this hasn't touched. So even the fears of like the money running out, like you can't, like if this drags on, we can't just let the money run out. There would be a second round. So like even kind of getting that, and you were talking about that, I think pretty early too. So just kind of assuaging those fears of like, yes, get it in, get the information in, submit it as fast as possible, because it will run out, but there's probably going to be another round. And then even then, I've seen you move on to talking about other programs, and I don't know where it's all coming from. I assume some of it's coming from you all too, but we're still getting information from other programs that are popping up. The Oklahoma City program that's popped up, we've applied for.
Which is
We're
great.
looking at some of the Main Street loan programs that are popping up. And I know that some people in our partnership have other relationships with bankers and banks, and our former bankers, so they're all kind of very, again, I feel a little bit like in a world of chaos, I'm in one of the better situations because we have so many people that are so educated on this and are so invested in what we're doing that they're willing to help. So that's why too, as much as we can, I've tried to be vocal and share that information with other people. Even joining Zoom calls and other community chats where people are getting together. I've been on a number of them where just hearing the struggles of other people, and I was able to provide information because you all have provided it. So I mean, it just goes to show the more information can be spread, it'll spread further and faster and help people, and that's the goal.
So if you were a banker and you were, and you knew that this next round of funding was going to go quite fast, and then likely would have more applications than you could process within that time frame. How would you go about prioritizing which ones were done first?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I'm asking
Um,
because I really need the advice.
yeah, no, I get it. I, it's tough to say because there's part of me that would say, who am I to decide a priority level? You should just go with who's asking. But then on the flip side, like for example, me, if I knew that I was applying for myself and one of my other businesses had already gotten it, like I told you that information, and I would fully expect to be on the bottom of the list because I already got some version of support. Um, Not to say that that doesn't mean that support's not intended for me or that I shouldn't take it. That's definitely the way I would feel, and I would be okay with that personally. Um, so I mean, to me, I'd almost maybe reverse it, like especially since I know so many people that are 1099 contractors in the gig economy and all this stuff. They're either starting businesses or they're just doing something that they're a photographer, a videographer, a musician. Pretty much every musician I know is some form of an independent contractor. Very few of them have some really well established business entity they're operating under. So I mean, my gut might be to flip that and target those first. Say, hey, we made you wait till the end, and then you basically had like a day's worth of
Right.
money to pull out of. So let's flip this and put you at the top of the list. Because also you might, if they're $1,000 or $5,000, if they're relatively small, you're going to be able to process way more of them in that amount of money versus a business that might be getting a few 100,000 or whatever. I'm not sure what your
That
average amount was, but
each file takes about the same amount of time. So
yeah,
but we right now, looking at, I pulled up our pipeline for this next round. We have 92 loans at $2.2 million. So they average it right at 20,000. I would say the median is probably, or the median is probably around 6,500, 7,000. There's a couple of
yeah,
bigger ones. This last round, our average was 60,000. The median was 30,000. So you see a lot more of those 1099s, independent
yeah,
contractors. And so, but we were, in our first round, we were trying to triage kind of like your first example of kind of to need, like which of these businesses aren't going to survive if they don't get this money.
yeah,
In this one, I think we might be able to focus a little bit more on kind of first in, first out, but kind of
yeah,
keeping the contact because there's a lot of those 1099s that have come in,
yeah.
since, but
And I think maybe that might be the important thing, right? Like you're already saying you've got 92 in queue. So I do know a lot of people that are probably like waiting to apply because they don't know if there's money or not, or they don't think they can. Honestly, you saying that, up until you said that, I wouldn't have thought to submit mine now. I would have waited until that money was, you know,
so we have our,
announced.
yeah, we have our application up and running. So it's, so we can get that queue going. And again, we're working
Yeah.
the files and underwriting so that we can rapidly get it to the SBA whenever it comes on board. So I think most banks are doing that, not sure. So
Yeah. And at the flip side, like I don't want to say that people who aren't 1099, like there may be some businesses, like I said, that don't have the benefit of having that paperwork so readily available, and they maybe got it together right before they heard the money ran out, and then we're like, so I mean that's a very hard one to think. And so maybe the answer that is simply like kind of like you said, first in, first out, just submit, like spreading the word. You should be applying for this, you should be doing it, even if because I guess, I don't know, this is an interesting question. If I apply for it and I get approved, could I decline it?
so that was interesting because shakes, well, you could, but if after the money runs out, you can't because it's already been
Right.
like authorized to you. So Shake Shack, which I have a hard time saying,
Yeah.
they turn back their money, but that money's not going to go to anybody else. It just is,
Right.
or it's just be foregone. But yeah, so if sometimes people are even applying multiple banks, and so making sure that they go back and if they get an authorization somewhere, make sure they tell the other bank so that they get out of line.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing we're running into is just the time to process each file.
Yeah.
But What other words of wisdom would you have, kind of parting words of wisdom for someone, either if they're considering applying or that they maybe did apply and waited and didn't receive an authorization last round? What should they do?
I mean, I would say go for it. I mean, to to think that you aren't deserving of it or worthy or there's somebody else that needs it more or whatever, like you can't make those decisions yourself and you can't really make those decisions for other people. Like maybe I really feel like this business I know down the street really should be applying for it and they would totally get it and it would help them, but they just decided for whatever reason they don't want to. So I mean, you can't really judge all of that. I mean, you have to kind of trust that, as hard as this may be for people to think, is that if this next wave goes through and runs out just as fast and this carries on or there's a resurgent, that there's going to continue to be more support because there just simply has to be, right? Like my opinion, as crazy as it sounds, if this continued on for months and months and months and months, then the federal government should bankrupt itself trying to keep people going, because if everybody dies or becomes homeless or like just becomes completely unable to work, then there is no recovery from this. And the only way the government recovers is if taxes and things start being paid again and people start getting back to business. So I think that is obviously everybody's goal, is we all want to be back as fast as possible, but we should be realistic about it. So I think that, this allowed us to just sort of take a breath and consider the situation that we were in, and it gave us the sort of mental capacity to brainstorm what the future looks like. I had a like a life coach for a while, and an analogy she used to use with me all the time was, your mind is like a swimming pool filled with balls, and at some point the balls are different sizes because of the things that are going on in your mind, but at some point it gets so full where there's just no movement, nothing can move, nothing can give. You can't see the water, there's nothing there. But you pull one or two of those balls out, and suddenly things can start to move and shift around and happen again. To me, it's that same kind of thing. Like if that $2,000 gives you 2 weeks of not thinking about, am I going to put food on the table, or am I going to be able to pay something to my landlord, or whatever your situation may be, and let you think about, what am I going to do to get out of this, or how am I going to come back from it, or whatever, or just, everybody kind of needs to be worried about their own mental health at this time too. So to give you 48 hours of just peace at home, to think, I don't have to worry about that right now. I can chill with my family this weekend or whatever. I can get back to, worrying about the future in another couple of days. And I would say, go for it. I mean, that's what it's there for. It is, I mean, again, paycheck protection program, this money in my mind, and if I'm wrong here, then they should have named it something else. That money was designed to come down from the government and go into your pocket. Like, so even if you're the owner of a company, and yes, some of that money is going into my pocket for my paycheck, like I don't feel guilty about that at all, because that's what it was there for.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I've probably worked almost more hours since this happened behind this computer than I have even in weeks leading up to it, because there's just so many different things to be considering and working on. So to me, my advice is apply for it. If you didn't get it the first time, it ran out, get in line again. Um, your business is worth it, whether you think so or not. Take advantage of the resource, and explore other ones. If there are grant programs being offered that you can apply for them. And like I said, we've applied for the city, we've applied for some artistic grant programs, we've applied for the EIDL. We're looking in these Main Street programs. I mean, we're going to continue to look at it, just to take advantage of the resources that are out there, because we want to come back. And right now our future is so uncertain. Some businesses might get some normalcy resuming in the next few weeks, months. We're probably much longer than that. So we're definitely going to take advantage of whatever's out there to make sure that we survive.
Well, thanks for sharing your wisdom and your perspective. I know that'll be really helpful for a lot of small businesses
For
considering
sure.
this program. And thanks for being such a great friend to the community. And congratulations on the upcoming new dad status. So that'll
Yeah,
be
thank you.
fun to watch unfold. So thanks a lot, Stephen.
Thank you, Jill.
Well, thanks for your time. I know you're super busy.
It's all good.